Welcome to MarketPulse Pros and Pioneers. Each week, I talk with industry leaders on both marketing and entrepreneurship and business to find out all about their wins and failures in marketing right now. We'll hear all about successes and wins and what's fallen flat so that you can take that knowledge and implement it. Learn from the best, from the folks who've been there and done it all, as well as people just like you. Thanks for joining us. This is MarketPulse Pros and Pioneers.
Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of MarketPulse Pros and Pioneers. This week, if I'm completely honest, it's a retake. Andrew kindly got together with me a couple of weeks ago. My broadband gave up the goose and recorded nothing. Not deleted, but it just didn't finish uploading my side of the video at all. So we're having to re-record. So if you see a chagrined face on Andrew at any point today, it's because he's already answered these questions once. But this is real life, and this is part of what I wanted to do with the podcast anyway, is to showcase that these things happen. Life is real. Plans don't always go how we expect them to. Thank you very much for coming back and re-recording, Andrew.
Two, as they say.
So, Andrew is CEO of UPS Building and Maintenance and also the owner of Adaptation Supplies Limited. Despite battling dyslexia and overcoming some early setbacks, including time spent in prison, Andrew has built a £10 million business that specialises in home adaptations. I'm not going to say that after a Christmas party, am I? For the elderly and disabled. With over 15 years in the industry, UPS has adapted over 6,000 properties across the Northwest, offering a range of services from minor repairs to large-scale property extensions. But what I really like about Andrew and the businesses that he works with is his mission is simple. And when we recorded the last time, it was up behind him on the wall, changing lives for the better. And I align with that so much. I really love that phrase. Andrew, first up, tell us about how you got started in business. How did you get where you are now? Because there's a lot of people out there who would love to be in your shoes and go on some of the journey that you've been on. Obviously, not all of it. But how did you go from dyslexia through to prison for the first part? And then from prison, what turned you around and got you into business?
Yeah, thanks again for having me again, Paul, and it's a pleasure. And like we say, take two, let's go. Hopefully we don't have to do this a third time. So I suppose I have to go back to the start of my journey. Adversity deeply shaped my future. I really struggled in school, was always getting into trouble, had dyslexia. And school wasn't a great place for me. I was always on the naughty step, as they say, or in the headmaster's office and getting in trouble for things, which unfortunately carried on through my teenage years and ended up with me getting kicked out of most schools that I was in, current at the wit's end of trying to work out why or what was wrong with me, and always told me that I would end up in a prison cell. And unfortunately, I did end up proving them right. When I was 19, I did end up going to prison. And even a step back, my parents gave up at me at 17 and I was homeless at 17. 17 to 19, I was in survival mode, got myself into a bit of trouble in those survival years. Not something that I'm proud of, but something I had to do to survive in my eyes. And then, that ended up with me in prison. Going to prison was one of those life-changing moments for me. You talk about changing lives for the better. Jail changed my life for the better, without a shadow of doubt. I think if you go to a place like that, you've got two choices. I don't think there's one in the middle. I think if you go left, you learn from your peers how to carry out more crime and get into the same rut of in and out prison, in and out prison, in and out prison. Or you take the right approach and say, this is somewhere I do not want to go back to. And what can I get and what can I learn and what can I develop myself out of this experience? And mine was definitely the right hand. The day that I went there, I was like, man, I have proved everybody. I've ended up where everyone said that I was going. There is only me that can change this. And I had to hit rock bottom for me to change my mindset and get my resilience better myself. But hitting rock bottom, going to jail certainly did that for me. And for the first time, I was able to channel my dyslexia into things that I was able to, it sounds weird, this being things that you enjoy doing. I was very lucky with jail that the warden noticed I had a joinery qualification. Even though I was homeless at 17, I still carried on my MBQ in joinery. So he got me a teaching job to teach the young juveniles in wood in joinery, which I really enjoyed. You get to listen to people's stories, help them and stuff like that. Really enjoyed it. And on good behaviour, we went to an open jail, which was like a boot camp scenario, where you trained as if you were in the army, up at 7 o'clock, shining your boots, making you... All those disciplines were amazing for me. It's probably what I needed in my life. And to cut a real long story short on that, the last part of was a 16-week program. The first 8 weeks, you did Duke of Edinburgh's, English, maths, training, all kinds of host of stuff, but they got you a job at the end of it. If you passed those 8 weeks, they then got you a job that you could go Monday to Friday, do your job, and then come back to the prison at the weekend. That set me off on my work journey, Paul. I stayed with that company for nearly 9 years before they sold out to an investment company, where I started to really learn my trade. Very fortunate that the person that took me on there really believed in me, and I really was thankful for him for giving me a chance. So I gave him everything, if that makes sense. I'd be there at the gate at 6:30 in the morning to open up with him. And he really put me on that first step journey towards learning about this. He provided me the platform to go and do my HNC, HND. Again, for someone with dyslexia, it was very hard, but I was so passionate about proving other people wrong that no one was going to stop me. And that really got me on my path, if that makes sense.
Powerful story. And I think, to be honest, we could probably do a whole podcast on that initial journey into and out of prison. We've discussed before, I've followed the work of Sarah Templeton for the last 3 or 4 months, where I've been reading a book around managing ADHD with your kids and how not to murder your kids who have ADHD. As a parent who has ADHD myself, and undiagnosed until I was 2 years ago, and still only really self-diagnosed, I can see now that I know a lot more about it, I can see a lot in other people in neurodiversity that I can see would be extremely challenging at that young age, to not be felt, heard, understood, not to be engaged in a way that put you to proper uses. What was that like because you got diagnosed with dyslexia at 14, right?
Yeah, 14, 15, it was really tough. It's like you said, the feeling of being alone, not being understood. You can't understand why you're in trouble all the time. You can't understand why you can't understand what the teacher's trying to teach you. My attention span was terrible. Like literally within half an hour, I'd be swinging on my chair, falling off my chair, just because I couldn't get it. And I desperately wanted to, Paul. That was I don't think I was necessarily a bad kid. I just was misunderstood completely. And I think that, in my view, and I'm sure it's a lot better than it was, but I think the curriculum for people that are diagnosed with these things needs to change. Let people be their creative self, or not necessarily a curriculum that's set by a GCSE or whatever is the right way forward. When I found something that I was passionate about learning for, I found a way to learn.
Yeah.
Right. And you do, if you've got an interest in it and there's a bit of an end goal to it, I feel that you can find yourself, whereas before you could only concentrate for 15 minutes. Now, give me the information. I'll store it a different way, but I'll store it.
Because you're interested. I think that's important, right? Like there's so much emphasis and importance in the UK more than ever, or certainly in England, on academic pursuits, that we forget that there are other skill sets out there that are every bit as important, if not more important sometimes. And sometimes that starts with working with your hands for a lot of neurodiverse people. It's doing something physical, doing something. And that's looked down on by a lot of people. And I laugh because I've got friends they're on the tools, if you like to use that phrase, right? They're on the tools. They're electricians, they're scaffolders, they're plumbers. And by God, I wish I earned their wages. Jeez. Yeah. And these were all kids who at some point struggled with academics because they just didn't gel with what was on the board. It's a fascinating journey. What got you into running your own business? How did you migrate from finding interest in joinery to get to the point where you had your own business? Special shout out in today's episode for our charity partners, ADHD Liberty, led by Sarah Templeton, who are part of the fight to prevent the school to prison pipeline for ADHD and neurodiverse individuals. If you'd like to find out more, you can visit them. The show links are in the notes below, and I would encourage you to go along and have a look and educate yourself on their fight. It's an incredibly important cause, and we're super proud to have them as charity partners for the MarketPulse Pros and Pioneers podcast. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your episode.
Yeah, so again, still with that passion of really wanting to prove people wrong, prove myself wrong, prove others that I can be successful. I had that real drive and passion to try it. I was very lucky with the company that I was on board with that. So they would put me through my HND. Like I said before, I was just about getting into a management position when that company, though, decided to sell. So that was in about 2006. They sold out to an investment company. So all the real core family values that they had dissipated. My connection with the owner disappeared at a click of a fingers. And I went back into that sort of scary zone of feeling, oh, here I am in a world that is now gone super corporate, doesn't understand me, doesn't understand my dyslexia, doesn't. So I took a decision in 2007 that I didn't like the way they weren't even owners. It was a corporate bank. So they just got people with titles in to run the business. It wasn't a way that I wanted to go. So I decided to set up on my own. I sold my house, moved back in with my parents to give me cash flow, and bought a van and an apprentice, and just went out with a sort of initial purpose of doing a job right first time, give the customer a good experience, and hope I'd get some more work. That literally was the next 10 years. Grafting during the day, going out doing quotes at night, invoicing at night, wearing every single hat that you can possibly wear, which I'm so glad I did, because although 10 years was a very long journey of only being around about £1 million with working with my friends rather than employees, being maybe taken a bit of advantage of both ways. The people that we were working for, Paul, were abuse isn't the right word, but you'd be on 90-day payment terms and you'd be trying to get paid. Oh, the director's not available to sign your check off, and then you're on 120 days. It was vicious. It was tough. It was hard. And it wasn't until sort of 10 years of being in business where we really just started to focus on one thing, specialize in one thing, find our why. Our why came about from, in about our 9th year, we started doing subcontracting for a company that was doing wet rooms. We'd never done them before. And I'll never forget the first one we did for an 83-year-old lady that had been waiting 4 years, where she'd not been able to have a proper wash in her own bathroom because she couldn't get into the bath. And she literally said at the end, crying, "You've changed. You don't realize, Andrew, how much you've changed my life." And I was working with a mentor at a time, and these little things just snapped into place. Yeah. That is our why, changing lives for the better. And we try and put that into everything that we do, whether that be our marketing, whether that be with our own staff, not just about our customers. It really has become a complete why throughout the business. And it's great to have that why, because you can really use that as your focal point in your storytelling, which again, I think to link that in with marketing, I think it's really important that people are able to tell a story, not just chuck things out in a one-box-fits-all scenario. It's being able to tell a story, communicate a story. And I've been really lucky. I've got both. I've got my personal journey, which I've learned over the last 10 years is quite powerful. I used to hide that. First 10 years of my business, mate, no one knew that I'd been to, or if they did, it was my personal friends. It was, I can't ever, coming on a podcast now and telling someone that I've been to jail when it's wider to the open would have been 10 years ago, would have been not a chance. Yeah. Now I realize that it can inspire others. Lucky, I think that I've found a platform where I've got both. I've got the personal journey, which I can use to my strengths, not only in marketing, but being able to attract talent to the business. I think people can connect with a story, they can connect with a personality. And I think us having a very strong why and being able to showcase that on multiple platforms, especially LinkedIn, whether that be through I can't say that word with my dyslexia, testimonials, case studies, it gives me lots of content to play with without having to, is fake it the right word? Yeah. There's nothing that I need to fabricate. I get a lot of content from both.
I think we've talked a few times about how you don't really feel comfortable in the marketing world and your background and expertise isn't marketing. I think there's an irony there that you've got so much of the marketing of your business right, whether it's intentionally or whether it's by design or whether it's just a happenstance, I don't know. But, the fact that you've had the business intelligence to realize that you needed to niche down, not stay broad, and focus on the adaptations as an example. A lot of businesses out there struggle with, should we go to a narrower audience? Oh, I don't want to because I might lose some business. But actually what you do is you gel with that industry much more powerfully than you do with trying to please everyone. And then you've got the brand narrative, you've got your messaging, you've got your slogan and tagline, and you've got your story, and you appreciate the power of your story. And I think any business that has all those things nailed off makes it a very easy job for anybody to market that business. I'm here to say I think you've actually got an incredible marketing brain, just because you don't approach it from this is marketing. You're just concentrating on doing the right thing.
I think it's authentic. I think it's quite kind of authentic, isn't it? It almost comes naturally, just speaking about the things. Or go back to maybe when we started specializing just on wet rooms, it was so much easier to be able to showcase one thing, educate on one thing, market one thing, speak about one thing, than this. As a building and maintenance contractor, we've got a really wide spectrum of stuff we cover. And Paul, I'll be honest, we do other stuff. It probably makes up 40% of our business, but we find it easier to focus on what.
Well, and not just because you've niched it down doesn't mean you can't say yes to other stuff.
Yeah.
It's that you focus on the things that are within your niche. And I've learned that over the last couple of years with my own business. I've got my niches, and there are some things that outside of that I'll say yes to because I quite fancy doing it. But it's not really something I want to be known for. It's not something I want to advertise. It's just something I'll do, and it pays the bills, and it's quite fun to do. It's exciting, or it's interesting, or it's secure work. We've got all of those things. Tell me then about the marketing that you guys do, because admittedly, you're not a marketing expert. You're the CEO of the business.
Yeah.
So what have you done to make sure that you guys have the right marketing presence? Because I know you rely on other people and you've brought other people in to do that. So what's your philosophy behind that?
Yeah, so there is two sides, like you say. So we've got two companies. Ultimately, and they've got to be honest, there's a lot done through tendering, but we back that up, I believe, with the storytelling, testimonials, the case studies. We post every day, more so again through the personal brand. I've focused a lot on that over the last 12 months, Paul. Whereas when we first started, I'd put a lot on the UPS page and felt that it wasn't getting as much engagement. So we concentrated on my brand and not trying to sell things down people's throat, but try to share a story, share things that where we've made a difference. So we'll have a client who's got a problem. How have we fixed it? What was the solution? And how can we showcase that to our targeted audience? I think that, again, is quite important. I think when I first started my journey on LinkedIn, it was, how many likes am I getting? How many connects am I getting? How many followers? Whereas now it's been, who do I want to be connected with? I want to be connected with like-minded people. I want to be connected with people that might make a difference to my industry. I definitely want to be connected to people that are going to engage in my contact or provide useful insights into the stuff that I'm trying to either educate or showcase. So yeah, I think a lot over the last 12 months has been about that. It's turning up every day, engaging in other people's stuff that post as well. Again, that prior to the last 12 months, I wouldn't really get involved in other people's content, but I've realized again that it's important to do. You've got to create that community feel, I think. So yeah, I think for UPS, it has been those things that I've mentioned and being consistent and trying to, again, be authentic, not trying to ram these are my services every day and posting it or putting it into someone's email box every day without ever having to connect to them. I much prefer now to try and find people that need solutions, that have a need for the work that we're doing, and seeing if I can connect with them, relate with them, and try and solve the problem rather than necessarily just sending them a blasé email with, these are my services. And I feel it's definitely helped. And I think it's really helped ultimately strengthen our brand in what we do. Like I mentioned, a lot of our stuff is done through tendering, but I will try and find, if we're tendering for, I don't know, let's say Trafford Council, I'll try and connect with people that are not so that but just so I might be in the, I saw UPS the other day. They did that lovely case study they did, and it's there, isn't it? And if that gets you an extra 0.5% at tendering stage for us, that's worth that effort of posting every day.
Exactly. I think a lot of business owners underappreciate the power of awareness and brand authority because they're too busy chasing the wins of today.
Yeah.
And I get it, right? Like, we've all got bills to pay. We've all got revenue that we need to bring in. And yes, today's wins are very important. But unless you want to be chasing today's wins every day, you've got to start dedicating some time to tomorrow, the day after, next week, next month, next year. And you do that through awareness and authority building. And I love that approach because I speak to a lot of business owners who run multiple businesses. And they're always concerned, like, how do I talk about, they're so different. How do I talk about both businesses on my personal profile? And my answer is always the same. It's like, don't talk about either. You don't need to talk about either. You talk about you, talk about your philosophy, your personality, your beliefs, your opinions, your expertise, and your passions. And if you do all of that, you come across in the right way, people are going to become curious about what they can get from you and investigate themselves. They'll have an idea. They'll see it from your headline or whatever, but you'll drive them through curiosity and intrigue into what it is that you're trying to do.
One really interesting point there for me that gives me great satisfaction that I know it works. So say we do get to interview stage for a tender, and we'll be at question and answer time at the end. And there's been quite a few occasions that people will comment that are in the interview stage and say, we can really tell that you live, breathe, and really care about the adaptation world because we see it. It's there. And when I get that, I really know that effort is worthwhile, because you can go along sometimes, not have loads of likes, not have loads of, you do have to forget about that, because if you're connected to the right people, whether they've liked it or not, they're seeing it. And it might, just because they haven't commented doesn't mean that it's not imprinted somewhere on the brain.
Exactly. Again, I see so many people who worry so much about those vanity metrics, and they have a place. Don't get me wrong. The vanity metrics, they do have a place, and they can be discussed and should be discussed. Should always keep track of them. But people don't delve into second and third degree analytics behind things, right? So I'm a big fan of looking at demographics of things. And I'm always looking at what sort of job titles do the viewers of my courses have? Because I could care less if I get 500 views, 200 views, or 20. Yeah. As long as the 20 are the right people that are thinking about or might think about buying my services. It's the important thing. Forget about the impressions. I have to say, is one of my big bugbears. Thank you, LinkedIn, for making views even more vague so that we can purchase ad time and sponsor it so that we can get more impressions. Lovely, great touch. If you could, I'm going to take a slightly different track to our podcast than what I normally do. I guess if you could go back and speak to yourself 15 years ago, what do you now know about marketing and how to market your business effectively that you would pass on to your younger self that you know would have got you to where you are quicker?
Yeah, I think it's going back to probably a little bit to what I said before. I've got one side of me that's really glad I did those 10 years and did all those different learning of all the different hats. But I think if I could go back, I wish I committed to one speciality a little bit, or one niche a little bit quicker than I did. Using my story, or for anyone else who's got a story, being authentic self. It's not necessarily about the services that you provide. I think people buy from people. So if you've got something interesting to talk about, don't be afraid to talk about it, even if it's something like my story that's in a bit of adversity. I think when I did start to share my story, it was quite powerful, I believe. And I also think I was able to attract people to the business sharing that story, which maybe I otherwise wouldn't. So yeah, definitely using that, whatever story that might be for the individual, because again, I think people definitely buy from people. I think getting on video, I think we spoke about this last time, and I'm still trying to get better than that myself. I know And again, I'm no expert on these LinkedIn algorithms, but I think it's pretty clear to see that people that do videos and do it consistently do well. So that's definitely something that I would have loved to got onto a little bit earlier in my market. It's something that I'm aware of and something I'm going to try and improve on. And I think your confidence with time and practice does grow on that, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And I can, do you know what? It's funny because we only recorded the first podcast episode a couple of weeks back, but I see a different Andrew sat in front of me already, right? Like you're a different guy to what you were a couple of weeks back doing your first recording. You're a lot less anxious, a lot less nervous. I can see it. And there's lots of room to grow in there. I'll share this story with everyone. I remember the first time I pressed go on a live stream on LinkedIn, middle of the pandemic. I'd come out of retail. I'd been a retail manager for my entire career, mid-level management at best. And I had huge imposter syndrome, didn't really see what I could add to anyone. And I created a live stream that 250 people turned up to in the middle of COVID in lockdown.
Yeah.
I cannot describe how mortified I was pressing that record button. But I did it, and we got through it. And then I did another one, and I did another one, and I did another one. And I got to the point where I could have a laugh on the camera, and it took me a long time to get where I am now. And I'm still got a long way to go. But it's amazing, and well done for getting that first. I saw your first kind of in-car video, went out on LinkedIn, you tagged me in it. Love it.
Yeah.
It's great to see people, doesn't matter how bad you think your video is, you're still doing more than your competition are doing. And
again,
it's your weaknesses.
It's taking that authenticness, I think, to the next level, isn't it? It's easy to type behind the screen and post with a picture, but you stick a video in there, I think that does really bring that authenticness to the next level, doesn't it? And allows your connections, your audience, your clients, whoever they may be, to really get a feel of who you are and what you're about. Like you say, as soon as you can put your own doubts, which is really what it is, isn't it? Your own nervousness, your own doubts, your imposter syndrome, like you said, once you can put that behind and practice, like you say, I generally know myself as well. I feel more comfortable in this one than I did last time. I don't know why, but I do. Probably because we've done it once already.
Get the reps in. Yeah, that's it. I think the first time's a bit of a fear of the unknown as well. You don't know what you're getting yourself into and how it's going to work. But no, hands on heart, it takes a lot of courage to get yourself out there the first few times. And people say, the first time's the worst. It's not. Your second video is definitely the worst because then you've got the expectations. Your first one did all right because of the first video you posted. Now you're expecting all the likes and comments, and then just the algorithm doesn't give it the attention it did the first one, so it starts to flop. Third one gets nothing. It's like,
but then that's where you've got to keep going, haven't you? Got to keep going with that consistency.
You've got to have faith. Andrew, I've loved our conversation today. I'm pleased we redid it. I've really enjoyed today's conversation, much more than the first one. If you've inspired somebody who's out there listening along and really enjoyed hearing about your story, and maybe they've run their own podcast, maybe they just want to ask you a few questions because they've been in a similar position or know someone who is, maybe it's just another business owner who's curious about how they could work with you, how can they contact you or the business?
Yes, website has got all our contact details on. Also, I'm sure we will be able to put my LinkedIn into the comments after. Anyone can get me in touch through LinkedIn. And again, I'd be more than happy to have a chat with anyone who feels there might be an interesting chat there. If I can help it, if it can help one person or inspire one person, or that would mean the world to me. That was the idea of coming on something like this, because if it helps someone, it'll make me feel good.
Brilliant. I love it. Thank you so much for your time today, Andrew. Thank you for re-recording. And I wish you, the irony is this goes out in April, but it's the 4th of December today, so I'm going to wish you a Merry Christmas, and all the audience are going to cringe.
All right, we'll skip that bit then and wish them all that. And
enjoy your summer holidays, everyone. All right, nice Easter. Brilliant. All right, thanks for your time, Andrew. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Thanks for joining us for today's show. I hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to feature on a future show, or you've got some ideas for folks who would make a great guest, please drop us a line. Contact details are in the show notes, and I'd love to hear from you. Your host today was me, Paul Banks, founder at Javelin Content Management. Here at Javelin, we specialise in helping busy business owners just like you to repurpose video content, taking all the stress and tech problems away and turning your long form video into literally hundreds of pieces of content without breaking the bank. We describe it as getting ideas out of your head into video and out to your socials. If you want to launch your personal brand, become the vendor of choice for your audience, or maximise your sales revenue impact, we'd love to hear from you. Join us next Wednesday for the next episode, and don't forget to subscribe and give us a review. Our podcast is only possible with your continued support.